Done with this demo, you guys are going to come over and I'm going to stamp you. I cannot put the grade in. At the end of this week, I'm going to make my grade books. Okay? So for now, we're just living on a prayer that you don't lose anything. Okay? So don't lose anything. Not your brainstorming worksheet and not your draft. Okay? I need that stamp. That stamp is your receipt. Okay, over here by the wedging table, I'm going to put a big roll of paper. Whatever you take that's too much, we'll leave for the other class today. Other class, when it's your turn, try to take less paper than you probably need, and then if you need more, we'll take you more. That way we don't waste a bunch of paper. You guys can waste paper because we've got 8th period tomorrow that can reuse it, okay? So I have just ripped off, no need for scissors here today. All we're gonna do is we're gonna start today with the largest body part, okay? What you wanna do is you want a really big piece. Try not to use more than one piece. Because if you have a bunch of little pieces, so have more paper than you need. Even 8th period, just do it. We'll throw away what we don't use. We'll waste, happy waste day. All right. We're not going to be using adhesives in here because we might, I haven't decided yet. I might make you cut these open and take the paper out so that they fire easier. Or we might just leave the paper on it. We might do it. And then it'll look like your animal is pooping out ash, okay? When you have a bunch of little pieces and you let go, they all kind of come apart, which is why we don't want multiple pieces. What we want to do is we want to take one really big piece. We also don't want to squish it so tight that there's no more give. Everybody following? Because we want to be able, once we get the clay on this armature, this paper armature, we want to be able to rearrange. It's going to look awful. It's going to look awful. And our goal is to make it smooth and sleek. Okay? So it's going to be lumpy, bumpy, it's going to be saggy. You're just going to have to keep adding on some more fresh wet clay. Okay? The other thing you don't want is you don't want to ball up your paper so loose that it sags under the pressure of the clay. The clay is going to be thick and heavy. And I believe on the demo that I did for the Panderfly, I had a different slab roller. So I think my slabs were thinner than what you guys are able to get, which means that your clay is going to be a little bit thicker. In some ways that's going to be better. But one way that's not better is it's going to be heavier and it's going to want to sink this. So what we really want is, I'm just going to start, I'm not worried about anything else. All I'm worried about is the major basic shape, okay? So I'm looking at it and it's kind of a ball, like a teardrop ball shape, I would say. We're just going to finish that out there, okay? From the side view, notice that the butt is bigger down there. It looks almost like an egg from the front view. From the back, it looks like a trapezoid. Is that a trapezoid?
Yes.
Yeah, look at my math go. Tell your math friends. Okay, tell your teachers you don't have any math friends. Okay.
What?
All right. Do you have math friends?
I'm math.
Good job. We've got one of us a math kid. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start shrinking this ball. And I'm going to look at it from the front view. That's a little bit bigger, so I might actually rip some of this off. That was a little bit too much, and that's what we want, okay? Because we want it to be tight enough to handle the weight, but we don't want it so tight that we can't alter the shape. Now, this is crucial. You don't want to make your bunny, or whatever you're making, bigger than your draft. It must be smaller, because it's not going to fit in these damp boxes if you make it way bigger. Everybody following? You are limited. You cannot go bigger than your draft because I gave you a damp box based on the size, okay? So this side looks good. This side doesn't look great. I need that bottom bit bigger, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to simplify it to a sphere or a teardrop or whatever as easy as possible. Everybody understand? Okay. Now I'm going to leave this. Now notice, as soon as I let go, it poofs back up. Okay? We're going to go over to the wedging table. We're going to use I'm going to use 3 fingers of clay and hopefully it's enough. Okay, that way we don't have a bunch of wasted clay. Whatever you don't use in your slab, I'll show you how to store it in your damp box during cleanup time so that you can keep using it from class to class. Everybody understand? Okay, I'm gonna pause the demo and I will return with a ginormous slab. All right, everybody come on over with me. I'm gonna give you guys a reminder on how to use the slab roller. I think that's gonna be enough clay, but I mean,
You never know.
I'll probably need more. Okay, and this is just for one part of the body. So every time you need a new part of the body, you're gonna have to go make some more slab. Usually what we do with our leftover slab is we ball it up so it stays nice and wet and we put it inside of our Ziploc baggie. You can still do that, but you need to make sure that that Ziploc baggie stays fresh out of the bag wet, okay? Because you can reuse, that's the best way to store it when you're all done. But if it looks like you need more slabs, then just leave it in slab form in your damp box and it'll be fine in there as well, okay? Okay, so here is the cumbersome part. The cumbersome part is that I need to keep this from expanding whilst I use one hand to move this over here. So does that look easy? Me holding this and wrapping this? It's not easy. It's gonna keep wanting to expand. Skylar, you're leaving, dear one. I'll put this video online for you. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to cut my slab. Do I have a cutting tool? I have a pumpkin carving knife. I'll use this rib. I'm gonna make it more of a square shape. And instead of putting this on top and wrapping it up, I like to drape it on top. I find that the weight of the slab keeps it tighter. Does that make sense to everybody? So I do want to make sure that I'm not, at least not higher, because I want it to fit in the lamp box, okay? So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm not worried about the texture on here because we got to smooth it all out anyway. So I'm just going to wrap this. I'm keeping my hand by, dear. I'm wrapping it inside. Hey. And so now that's holding that shape. And then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna rip off the pieces that we don't need and set them aside. And I'm going to just overlap them, and when I overlap them, I'm just gonna squish them into each other. Am I slipping and scoring? No. I'm ripping off pieces of slab that I don't need. I'm wrapping it around, I'm overlapping it. It will get much thicker in the areas where you're overlapping, but it'll be okay. Notice how, I don't know if you guys can tell, let me autofocus. See the little bitty hairline cracks on the top? Like right here? You want to grab those as soon as you can, okay? So I'm just gonna use, and in a minute, once we get it all on there, I'm gonna go ahead and rip off some of this, I don't need it. And let's say I rip off too much. Let me rip off too much for you so that you can see how to fix that, okay? This side is plenty and extra, I would say. I could probably rip off some more. I'm not worried about adding air bubbles in here. This is gonna be so thin, it's going to dry out very, very easily, okay? Now, does this look like I am like getting a hyper realistic shape right now? No, that's not my job right now. My job is just to make a sphere. Okay, that's it. That's all I'm worried about. I will go and fluff up the saggy parts and pop out the valleys and shave off the ridges later. Okay? Right now, I'm just worried about getting, and my hair is in everything. And I can kind of paddle this with my hand. You could grab an actual paddle if you want to, but I'm getting it the shape that I want it. Is it perfect yet? No. Okay. This is gonna take us, in all reality, as with the damp boxes, we're likely going to finish these faster than the previous years have because they had to slip and score in between. So I'm hoping the use of these damp boxes will fix things. Now before I do this last side, I am gonna check. I think this side is wider, so I'm gonna make this the bottom, and that's looking pretty good. Look at that. Oh, it's out of focus. Why don't you guys say something?
We can see well enough.
Okay. You sweet thing. Okay, so I'm just making sure that I have, and it looks a little different on the camera than it does in reality, so I'm going off of reality. Here it looks too big, but in reality it's not. Okay, so over here, well, let's say I didn't have all that clay on there, okay? This is still fresh and wet right now, but let's say that I couldn't quite, there was a hole there and I didn't quite make enough. just take a nice little piece. It's that easy. Did you see how easy that was? It was so easy. Hallelujah. It's easy. I'm telling you, this is one of my favorite ways to build. It's kind of cumbersome and scary the first time because the paper is expanding and you're trying to wrap clay around. It is kind of saggy. Look how flat that side got. So I do want to be careful of that. Now each of you and you guys need to get your buckets out. Nobody got your buckets out. That's okay. I still have to, that's a lot extra, so I'm going to take some of that off so it doesn't end up getting really thick and heavy. And I'm just using my fingers. I will say this clay's a little bit on the dry side. I like it a little bit wetter than this. I'm trying not to put excess air bubbles in if I don't need them. You know, I'm not too afraid of air bubbles because the clay is so thin. I don't think that moisture is I think we're gonna be able to dry these out really well. Does that make sense? But, I mean, air bubbles can still cause water to stay in your piece. So just don't be afraid, but also don't try to avoid if you can, okay? So now I've got this sphere, I've got this egg shape. I want to immediately put it down, and that's where I'm going to flip this. I like to right wherever your bottom is. Some of you guys use the bottom of the draft like you were supposed to. Good job, Kinley, or Charlie, you did it. I like to put a V in the middle so that I can stand it up like so. And then I can constantly look at my piece, and my piece is a little bit too high. So I'm gonna squish it down. And the side view actually looks pretty good. I'm gonna check. Now, when I check the front view, I gotta rotate it, and it's looking pretty good that direction too. Now, does my piece look really great?
No.
Heck no. So I'm gonna get my red rubber rib, and I'm just gonna start going to town. If yours is light enough, you can hold it in your hand, and that will help you. And this is gonna clean it up so quick, you guys. It's gonna be amazing. It takes a little bit of energy and effort, and you wanna make sure that you don't worry about cleaning everything too much right away because you're gonna alter this shape. So we're gonna keep cleaning it and keep cleaning it. Does that make sense to everybody? Now, I do wanna show you when I've got it like this. Like I said, that clay was a little bit on the dry side, so mine's not scraping as easily. Now notice, can you guys tell right here that there is a hole? Okay, so for that, this is why you wanna keep your excess clay really wet. So if it was out like this, I would get a plastic bag. Oh dear, that bag's attached still. Just while you're using it. When you're not using it, we're not gonna store anything in these flimsy thin bags because we need this project to stay really wet. Does that make sense? So it's either gotta be your Ziploc baggie, that baggie is much thicker, or we're gonna put it in your, if there's enough space in your damp boxes, you can put it in there. But while I'm working on it, I wanna keep it covered because I wanna keep this really nice and wet. So let's say we have this right here, this hole right there. All I'm going to do is I'm going to, this is the whole process. I'm not shaving I'm not using the alligator tool for this. It's all additive smoothing, okay? So I get it attached and then I smooth it out. And now that area is looking pretty great, okay? Now you guys might not be able to tell, but there is a can you guys tell that there's a different angle right there? So I'm just gonna use some fresh wet clay. And I'm gonna go one body part at a time and I'm gonna smooth it out, okay? Now, just because I'm smoothing right now, that doesn't mean I'm gonna be done with this area. I gotta keep going, okay? So once I add on the head, that'll be tomorrow's demo or next class's demo. Sometimes if you get too much wet clay on it, it'll wanna stick and move a lot of clay, so I like to just wipe it off on my wrist. Does that make sense to everybody? So we're just gonna try to get our torso, our big body shape today. Okay, you're probably not gonna finish smoothing it all. Look at how many lumps and bumps there are. I've gotta fill all those in. But look how much better that side's looking. It's looking pretty great. Okay, so we're just gonna, it's a little bit time consuming, but we're good. Are you marked? Any questions? Get set. Go. Yay! Thank you, Charlie. Charlie, I'm gonna go photocopy this real quick. And then I'm gonna get myself a dent box ready so I can use it on the next demo.